So the boring news that's been absolutely beaten to death is the fact that PayPal is now offering its 450 million users a stablecoin. Pi USD is the name of their stablecoin, and yes, that is the same PayPal who actually tried to steal $2,500 out of its customers' accounts if they engaged in what they deemed as misinformation. Yes, we're going to talk about all of the strange connections about why this Pi USD stablecoin is being built on top of Ethereum and all of the really interesting connections to the World Economic Forum. We're going to cover all that later, but I'm far more interested by the questions that nobody is asking themselves. Why did PayPal become the first corporation to get the regulatory tick of approval in launching a stablecoin when the last company in 2019, Facebook, got absolutely attacked for trying to do the same thing? What's different this time? Why was Tether just recently allowed to walk free out of a New York court case only 2 weeks ago? So again, the same week that PayPal has come out and launched this stablecoin. Why were previous stablecoins like MakerDAO, FTX, and Luna all attacked in the days and weeks following them making some very major announcements and developments in their own respective stablecoin cases? Now, I believe the answer to all of those questions can actually be found in PayPal's video that they have launched this week advertising their new groundbreaking US dollar stablecoin. Now, I want to draw your attention to the little part in that video where they said they are fully backed, fully reserved US dollar stablecoin where they're buying US government debt. We're going to get into that in just a second, but I want to highlight just how much of a watershed moment this is for the Bitcoin industry and the geopolitical arms race that is currently going on between the BRICS countries and the United States. Okay, so this is monumental because the last time that a corporation tried to create a stablecoin, it was Facebook. Facebook tried to create this stablecoin called Meta back in 2019. And what happened to Zuckerberg? He got hauled in front of Congress in very short order, and the Libra project essentially did not get off the ground. But why? Now, I think there's at least two reasons why Zuckerberg didn't quite get his stablecoin off the ground. The first reason is probably the most important, and that is the fact that his Libra stablecoin was backed by a basket of currencies, okay? And the US dollar portion of this basket that Zuckerberg created was only 50%, okay? So Zuckerberg had many other currencies in there, as you can see. As we can see from this image, Libra was only 50% backed by US dollars. We can also see many other currencies around the world. We have the British pound in there. We have the Singapore dollar, the Japanese yen, and the euro. So I believe this is important because why would America let Zuckerberg create a product that allows his customers to invest in other currencies around the world? Okay, this is bad for dollar dominance. Okay, and the other reason that I believe Zuckerberg didn't have much success was the fact that he tried to create this company in Switzerland. Okay, Switzerland is a long way away from America, so America may not be able to kind of oversee everything that Zuckerberg is doing. And Switzerland does have that reputation for being a little bit of a safe haven and kind of going against the grain with all of these other banks around the world. That's where lots of people kind of say, hey, I'd love to have a Swiss bank account, an offshore Swiss account, but America was not having any of that. So again, this is very different to PayPal. PayPal has said that they are only going to be servicing US customers and they're going to be set up in America. And most importantly, they are 100% backed by US dollars and short-term US government debt. Now, this does have some interesting relations to Tether, and we're going to get there shortly, but I want to first show you a little bit more about this PayPal stablecoin. We can see here that Paxos is the company that is actually issuing and being in control of the reserves for this Pi USD stablecoin. But what's interesting about Paxos? Well, let's remember they were nearly sued by America earlier in the year because they were working working with Binance. So they're only serving US clients, and Paxos is the company that is helping them kind of manage their reserves and helping them do monthly audits. Now, that's very similar to what Tether is currently doing, because Tether is now doing monthly attestations. Again, a little bit of a difference there. We're going to come back to Tether a little bit later on, but I want to point your attention to that company, Paxos. Paxos is interesting because they were actually helping Binance with their stablecoin BUSD. And of course, that is the very same Binance who, at the moment, looks like they're kind of teetering on the edge of collapse. We can see the price of BNB right now looks as if it's kind of breaking that 212 line in the sand. And I think it's given me a few flashbacks to what happened with Luna as well as FTX. As you can see, we did tweet about this earlier in the week, and this is your reminder. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Our name is CoinBeast. We are the Bitcoin-only educational company powering this channel. But let's talk a little bit more about this BUSD Binance stablecoin, because yes, they said they were backed by US government debt and treasuries, but as it was kind of recently exposed, Binance may not have always been 100% fully backed with that BUSD stablecoin. And they also operate offshores a little bit. So this is why we're seeing some things change in the stablecoin space. And the things that are changing most is Tether's backflip, okay? 18 months ago, Tether was being attacked by US regulators. 18 months ago, Tether was reportedly holding a lot of risky Chinese commercial paper in their reserves, and they weren't doing any attestations or audits. But things have kind of changed in the past 18 months. Tether has kind of gone through an unofficial backflip. So they've sold a lot of their risky commercial paper that began to buy US Treasury debt. And right now, Tether is actually one of the largest holders of US government debt around the world. I believe that if they were a country, Tether would be in the top 15 holders of US Treasury debt. So again, think about that geopolitical importance about the US government looking at Tether as a potential buyer of US government debt. And what's going on right now is the world de-dollarizes. We're going to come back to that a little bit later on. But Tether has now also began doing monthly attestations, trying to prove that their reserves are in fact there. They're trying to give a little bit more transparency around their reserves. Again, some people will continue to say, hey, I still don't trust Tether. That's up for you to decide. We're just kind of showing you what's been going on. And Tether, now that they do hold so much US Treasury bills, they've actually been making a lot of money recently, because as interest rates have been risen, their US Treasuries are paying them a lot of yield. And now Tether is actually buying hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin every single month and putting them in their excess reserves, because now they say, look, we have all this money, we don't know what to do with it. So Tether has gone from being completely unbacked, as some people and the Tether truthers have tried to claim over the years, but now they're too backed. They have too many reserves that they're actually buying hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin and putting it on their balance sheet. So again, think of the geopolitical importance of that. We're going to return to it a little bit later on, but I want to move on just a second and take a look at what else happened with Tether. They also just recently won a court case in New York. So we can see here a comprehensive legal victory as US District Court dismisses a class action lawsuit against Tether. And I would like to point your attention towards the date of that article. Again, this is around 2 or 3 weeks ago, just before the PayPal stablecoin got off the ground. And this is why things are slowly beginning to change in the stablecoin space. So I want to first show you a snapshot of the entire crypto stablecoin marketplace in December 2022. So this was at the beginning of this year, and we can see that Tether was around $65 billion in size, and it made up around 50% of the total crypto stablecoins around the world. And USDC, its second biggest competitor, was $45 billion in size, and it actually held around 35% of the total market cap. So these two coins were pretty competitive with each other, as you can see. And the third largest stablecoin was BUSD. That's Binance's stablecoin, and that had $22 billion of capital stuffed within it. But look what happened only 9 months later. Things have changed, and they've changed pretty dramatically. So Tether is now $85 billion in size, and they actually account for 70% of that total $120 billion stablecoin market. That's huge. And as we can see, capital has been absolutely flooding out of these other stablecoins. So USDC, the regulated and safe version of a US dollar stablecoin, is now only worth 20% of the total market cap. So right now they are only $25 billion in size, but I'm most interested about what's happened with BUSD. We can see that they have lost over 75% of the market cap volume that they did have only 9 months ago. Today, they only have around $3 billion market cap, which means money has essentially flooded out of USDC and BNB's stablecoin BUSD, and it's all moved into Tether. So we have to begin to ask ourselves, what do these capital allocators know that we don't know, okay? Has Tether been kind of tapped on the shoulder and said, look, you're good to go. You just need to buy US government debt and we'll let you do what you want. Just some questions. I'll let you guys answer them yourselves. You can let me know in the comments down below what you think, but I think it's interesting that PayPal is essentially following the Tether model, okay? Kind of, not exactly, but they are fully reserved and they're buying US government debt and they're setting up shop in America. That's the one thing Tether isn't quite officially doing yet. But it's worth noting that PayPal does have some other differences with Tether. PayPal is fully KYC'd, okay? So you can only imagine this is probably going to be America's version of a CBDC, okay? And they also, hidden within the source code for the PayPal stablecoin is this little interesting line here. PayPal says it's going to have the ability to freeze user accounts and completely drain a user's balance and all of the money they have stored in that stablecoin. So that should make you a little bit scared and make you ask some pretty interesting questions, because this Pi USD stablecoin is running on top of Ethereum. And yes, that is very interesting because of all the connections Ethereum does have to the World Economic Forum. We covered that in a recent video where we showed that there are Ethereum Foundation members actually listed on the website of the World Economic Forum. We're going to come back to that a little bit later on, but I want to also show you the flip side of this PayPal stablecoin announcement and how it could be bullish for Bitcoin as well as bullish for America in the great geopolitical economic Cold War, okay? So PayPal has around 400 million active users, okay? Now that is massive and it is riding on top of Ethereum. It's worth mentioning there is only around 400,000 active Ethereum users on a daily basis, which means that the PayPal announcement is 100 times larger than the second biggest cryptocurrency. Again, there is no second best. Ethereum is a centralized proof of stake coin. I just wanted to mention that for anyone who may be new here. We're just kind of comparing apples to apples here, okay? Now, how is this good for America, okay? The world is de-dollarizing. We know that. Saudi Arabia has begun to settle trade in Chinese yuan. We have South Africa has came out and said that the days of the dollar-centric world are over. They're completely finished. We also have other BRICS countries like Brazil just enter a regional trade agreement with Argentina. They're the two largest economies in South America. And of course, Argentina has also begun to do trade with China in the Chinese yuan. So again, we need to watch all of these signposts. And it's really interesting. I'm actually recording this video today on the 22nd of August. And there is rumored to be an announcement coming out of the BRICS countries as they are actually holding their annual BRICS summit today in 2023. And this is rumored to be the biggest BRICS summit in the 14 years that they have been kind of doing their thing, because it's reported that they're going to announce the fact they're going to create a new global reserve currency backed by gold. Okay, again, I haven't got the news on that one yet. You're going to have to forgive me. I might re-record a little section for this later and splice it into this video, but it's pretty clear. These countries want an escape, okay? They're done with the US dollar-centric world. They need a new world, and we can see the largest holders of US treasuries have been dumping their bags over the previous years. So China and Japan both held over $1 trillion of US treasuries before 2023. But the great de-dollarization has begun, okay? It's not going to happen overnight, but it is gaining steam and it is happening at the fastest rate anything has happened in 15 years, as we can see these countries have heavily dumped US treasuries in 2022 and 2023. So is Tether and the PayPal stablecoin going to actually help Uncle Sam, okay? If they are fully backed by US government debt, all of a sudden there is a buyer for the US dollar debt. Again, I love to speculate a little bit here on the channel, but it's pretty obvious. Tether looks as if it's becoming the dominant US dollar stablecoin. And if they are actually adding $80 billion of demand for US government debt, and they're one of the world's largest holders out of any other country, kind of makes sense that the US government just lets them go and do their thing. And I actually think this could potentially kind of extend America's reign as the global dominant hegemon for a lot longer than a lot of people think, okay? And it could actually help them kind of hold on to that global reserve currency until they actually have to make a big decision. And I think they could be forced to make that decision a lot sooner than a lot of people think. If the BRICS do come out with a gold-backed BRICS currency, I believe America only has one option left, and that is to back the US dollar by Bitcoin. I know it sounds crazy, but we have a US presidential candidate, RFK, right now talking about backing all of the future US debt with a 1% backing of hard money. So that is obviously Robert F. Kennedy, who says that if he's elected president, he's going to back all of US debt with either 1% gold, silver, or Bitcoin. So if you want to see the truly bullish maths on what could happen to America's future debt, if it's all 1% backed by Bitcoin, we did recently record a video on that topic. You can find a link to that video right there. But if you want to learn a little bit more about the geopolitical unwinding of the US dollar debt spiral, we also recorded a video that you might like, and you can find that one right there. And with all that said, I hope you loved today's video. I hope you love these two videos right here, and I will see you all in another one.